everybody, and welcome to WCNC Charlotte's Off the Clock podcast. I'm your host, WCNC Sports Director Nick Carboni, and I hope you're sticking with us for all your local sports coverage. And what a start to the week we had with a new quarterback in Carolina, Sam Darnold, and a new coach for Carolina Hoops, Hubert Davis. We've got all sorts of fun analysis and stories online for both big stories. That's at WCNC.com. All right, this week's guest, we always try to bring you somebody with a great Charlotte sports story, and we've got one this week. We've got Joe Cox. He was the star quarterback at Independence High School back when they were unstoppable, like really unstoppable. They won 109 straight games and 7 straight state titles. He was a part of all that. Absolutely insane. He went on to a college career at Georgia, later got into coaching after a brief stop in the real world, and we'll talk about that. This year, his coaching journey brought him to Charlotte, back home, where he coaches tight ends for the 49ers. And remember, subscribe or follow if you like what you're listening to here on Off the Clock. Joe, what's the favorite food that you could not wait to have again when you came back here to Charlotte?
Ooh, Juliana Pizza on Monroe Road and Sardis Road North. Been going there since I was a little kid, and I've been there way too much since I've been back.
Georgia Clemson, September 4th. Who you got, and how do you watch Georgia when you're coaching in the game yourself? You DVR it?
I gotta go Georgia, obviously, but that's gonna be a good one. And to be honest with you, I don't watch them now. I mean, I can't. It's really funny because everybody's always asking, did you catch the Georgia game this weekend, or what's your thoughts about the game this past week? I'm like, hey man, we had a game at the same time. Like, I get it. Georgia football is huge. It's always going to be a huge part of my life, but I got my own problems that I got to worry about every day.
All right, last one. I was told to ask you, what's up, Cool Hand? That was from Muhammad Massaquoi.
I was about to say, there's only a few people that know that one. There was a guy that used to come and speak to our football team when we were at Independence, and used to hand out an award every year. And he had a nickname for Muhammad. He called him Moma. And then he called me Joe Cool Hand. And there was a few guys on the team that still call me that to this day. So that's pretty funny.
I had that. That was the only dirt he gave up. So either there's not much more, or he's got plenty keeping secrets.
He's got plenty.
For those who weren't around to see it, and I count myself in there too, I was in high school at the same time, way up north. What was it like to be an Independence football player during that amazing stretch? 7 straight state championships, 109 straight wins. I mean, what is it like to be a part of that program?
It was incredible at the time, but it's really something now that it's over. You know where it kind of stands in the history part of things, something that you're really proud of. But it was a lot of fun, man, just because we had an unbelievable group of coaches that led that team. And it was to a point, it had already started by the time I got there. So I'm a little baby freshman coming in the door, and you had no choice but to fall into that culture and fall into those expectations, or you're not going to be somebody that they can count on. So it was, there was a little bit of pressure in terms of keeping it going, which was always fun because nobody wanted to be that group that stopped that streak.
Yeah.
But with the team that we had and the coaches that we had, it was just an amazing feeling stepping on the field with that group every Friday and knowing that we did not think we could lose. And that's something special. I mean, I've been around a lot of sports and been with a lot of teams before that and since that. And that was something that was really special and something that I'm still chasing, to try to get that feeling again and have my players now as a coach. What were those guys doing that allowed us to feel that way and do something special? So it was really cool.
Yeah. Do you think you have a different perspective on, perfection? I mean, a lot of people say like, hey, let's try to be perfect, even though we know that's not possible. Does it give you kind of it is possible in this game to at least have a perfect record or do it the right way every single time?
Right, it does. And the thing that I think is tough though is there's a million different ways that you can reach that. So the big thing that you fall into is it's not the same. It's not the exact same formula and exact same ingredients as what it was with that team. You have to find a way based on who you have, what the strengths are, what the scheme's going to be, what the message needs to be for that particular group. So I do think it's great knowing that I've been part of something like that and know that it can be done and know what that feels like. And the big thing is just trying to motivate guys to have them understand what it's like when you're actually on a roll like that and when you have that type of confidence. But finding the way to get there, there's not a set formula. You got to kind of create your own as a coach and the culture that you want and what's important to you and what you want to be important to your players, and make sure that it aligns in that direction to be able to take a program to a place like that.
You know, any other high school in the area, you probably would have walked in day one. They probably would have been asking you to start games for them in like 8th grade. But when you get to Independence, is there a lot more competition there, especially at your position?
Yeah, there was a guy named Chris Lee.
Exactly. I was pretty sure you guys overlapped.
So really, I mean, my first 2 years, I was swimming, trying not to get yelled at by Coach Knotts and just try to do what Chris did, but couldn't do it as well. So had an unbelievable teacher in him, being able to watch, you know, not only how he played, what he did in the offense, but how he carried himself and what he did in the locker room, being in a leadership position. And that was huge for me. I think that really helped me moving forward, being able to learn from somebody like that and watching it firsthand before I actually had to step into that position.
If you didn't go to Georgia, what do you think the next destination would have been?
Well, I didn't have too many options. I was very, very lucky on the Georgia one, but I definitely would have been at Duke.
Okay.
I have a long family history at Duke. My dad played there, granddad, uncle. My mom went there.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in that stadium, going to a lot of football games, and I actually, that was where I was going to go. I committed there first.
Okay.
But Georgia was kind of my dream school. There was just something about that. I'd only gone there one time in my life, and it had that much of an impact on me that if I had a chance to go there, I had to take it.
All right, so I think it was your redshirt freshman year. You come in, you guys are down to Colorado at home, I think. What do you say to the guys in the huddle? You're Joe Cox, you know, Mr. North Carolina, Player of the Year. Stafford's on the roster. What does Joe Cox say to kind of rally those guys?
Well, first, I had to introduce myself because we had Matthew Stafford, so I had to let everybody know who I was when I came in the huddle because he was a special one. But that was a really, really cool moment in my life. Just, you know, stars kind of aligned a little bit, and you know, that's the thing that you always preach to quarterbacks. You know, have your head in the game. You got to know the game plan, just like the starter. What happens if something happens, if somebody goes down, or for whatever reason you have to go in? You have to be prepared, and that was the first time in my life that I was actually in that position where I was behind somebody. And I had to come in not as like mop up time at the end of a game, where you actually had to come in and try to do something. So it's kind of a blur, to be honest with you, exactly what was said. But the big thing was I had to come in and act like there was not going to be a beat skipped because we had a change in who came in the game. And I thought I did an okay job at it. I still don't know what I said or how I said it, but got lucky and made a few plays here and there, and our defense kind of stoned them the rest of the game and let us overcome a couple hiccups that we had offensively, but ended up in a really cool situation to win the game on the last play, and that was something that I'll remember for forever.
Yeah, I mean, it probably hard to beat leading a comeback between the hedges at Georgia. I mean, what when you think back now, a decade later of your career there and 2009, how do you kind of put it in perspective?
Well, sometimes I laugh. I wish that would have been my last game that won in 2006. But 2009, for one, I was really fortunate that I had an opportunity to play there. You know, as a competitor, I know what football means to Georgia fans, and you know, I wanted to do my part, and I wanted to do for that locker room what all those guys before me while I was there had done. And felt like we definitely fell short of what our standard was, what the Georgia standard was, and still is to this day. And, you know, it was, we had some good moments, and I'm glad I got to experience it. but definitely, wish we would have been able to carry the torch a little bit better. But it was an unbelievable experience, and there's good times, there's bad times, but I did it. I was in that fire, and I learned a lot from it. I grew a lot from it. And to be honest with you, that experience probably has helped me more as a coach than any other experience. It's easy to be a coach if you've never lost a game and say, well, this is what we did when we didn't lose a game. We were undefeated forever. Well, there's going to be times where you fail, and you gotta be in a position as a coach where that's a teaching moment. That's how do you respond? How do you respond when you're criticized? How do you respond when you put everything into something and you failed? You did not get the job done, and that's part of sports. It's part of life, and that's a huge lesson that I like being in a position to try to help guys see that, and how you pick up and how you move on, and what type of message that gives to everybody around you if you're a guy that can continuously do that until it starts to trend the other way, because that's part of the game that we play.
All right, Joe's pretty low key, but don't forget, he was the North Carolina Player of the Year back in his day. Now we move on to his next chapter, coaching, which didn't start out how you think. It started with something much different. When did you know you wanted to coach?
I always thought I wanted to coach, and it got to the point, I was a fifth-year senior. I kind of started having dreams of playing golf on weekends and, just going home and having a normal job and a normal lifestyle. And I thought I did. And I did that for about 4 years, and a bunch of different jobs, bounced around, was in some crazy places in my life. And I was living in Charleston in 2013. And I decided I was going to go help out at a private school for spring ball. And the first day, it was like a slap in the face, epiphany moment. Like, you should have done it from the get-go. You should have trusted yourself and gotten into it. But I think that's helped me out in this profession, because it's a hard profession. It's really it's a really satisfying job to have, being able to coach and being able to lead and just be part of a game that you love. But it's not an easy job. It's a grind. And I think maybe if I would have gotten into it right after being done playing, I don't know if I would appreciate it as much as I do now after seeing the other side.
Yeah.
So it's been quite the journey to get into coaching, but I couldn't have never made a better decision, and really thankful that, the way the world works, I'm back in my hometown and with some really awesome people trying to do something special.
What was your normal job?
Oh, wow. Normal job. First one, I worked for a sports agency, so it was still in football.
Yeah.
Second one, I did orthopedic sales in Augusta. So I lived down in Georgia, did that for about a year and a half.
Nice.
I lived in Atlanta and did business sales for Sprint for about 3 weeks. Realized I was not a businessman. And then I actually did scholastic sales. I worked for Life Touch and was selling yearbooks, running all around South Carolina trying to sell yearbooks. So, and I wasn't a great yearbook salesman either. So.
Yeah. What's easier, selling a yearbook or recruiting?
Recruiting, because it's something that I'm really passionate about. And in recruiting, you're selling, yourself, your visions, and your head coach's vision and culture. And when you're passionate about it and you believe in it, it's easy to sell anything. But, that was the hard thing for me, was selling stuff that I either didn't know as much as I should have about, or wasn't as passionate about.
What does the former quarterback know the best about the tight end position?
I would say where we expect them to be in the pass game. You think of tight ends, you think of one thing that every offensive coach says at the end of each season, when you're kind of going back, doing your self-scout, what could we do more of? What could we do better? You always think, we got to give the quarterback easier throws, stuff that he's comfortable with, quick game type throws, And a big person who's always involved in those schemes and concepts is the tight end. And we had some good ones, that I played with. I've always watched a lot of good tight ends, always understood the skill positions on offense, where they were supposed to be. So I think from a quarterback perspective, helping them in the pass game, really understanding how to identify coverage, who we're working certain routes off of, where the quarterback's expecting them to be, how we can help use our body and create space to give the quarterback a better throwing lane, are little things from my side as a player experience that I think I can help out with. But that's probably the main thing in the past.
People have been raving about Will Healy for a couple of years now from outside the program. What did you hear about him, before you had a thought of coming here, and what's it like to work for him, and what do you notice about him in this up close and personal relationship you have?
So the first time I heard his name was when I heard it getting mentioned for the Charlotte job. So I kind of looked him up, saw he was at Austin Peay, saw he was National Coach of the Year, and kind of all these accolades, and saw that he was young guy. And then I started hearing kind of stories about him, like, man, this guy from Austin Peay, he's like the most juice, energy guy, passionate guy. And I saw some clips of those team meetings where he comes, sprinting in, everybody's, clapping as fast as they can, as hard as they can. And I was laughing, like, that's pretty cool. Like, I've never seen anybody that starts a day like that. I've always been around, some true, Southern coaches. But it was just what I had heard about him. He's exceeded it and been 10 times more passionate and more juiced up than I've ever imagined. And it's changed my philosophy as a coach. It's had me look at my coaching style, how I walk in the door, what type of energy am I bringing just body language wise? Am I wide awake when I walk in the door? Am I still wiping sleep out of my eyes? It's incredible the things that he thinks about that's going to have an impact on our football team. And the things that he's really passionate about that he wants our program to become, they're simple and they take no talent. He's the one thing that I've told everybody I've talked to is I walked through the building at Charlotte, and these kids, even when I first got here and I didn't know a soul on the roster, guys are coming up, looking me in the eye, fist bumping me, shaking my hand, asking how I'm doing. Hey, Coach Cox, glad to have you here. And I've been places where people are walking through the hallway with their hood on and looking down the floor or staring at their phone. It's just a totally different atmosphere. And it's really incredible to see that these kids have completely bought into what type of man he wants you to become, not just a football player, but how you carry yourself, how you present yourself, your body language, your attitude, your positivity, your energy. He has his little acronym PEEP, and they live by it. And, I look forward to learning from him more, because it's incredible watching what he's able to get out of these kids, and really seeing that there's a totally different way that you can motivate. And he is a motivator in the true sense of the word.
You sold his vision really well, so I won't ask you to sell me a yearbook.
Hey, Coach. And I guess you it wasn't just because you wanted to attend Club Lit. I guess you're really bought in.
Yes, I'm truly bought in, and I've seen, I keep seeing new stuff about Club Lit, and I can't wait. I can't wait to go there.
Coach Cox, I appreciate you joining us.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you to Coach Cox and to the 49ers for setting that up, and thanks to you for watching and listening. Be sure to follow and subscribe while you're at it. And that'll do it for this week's WCNC Charlotte Off the Clock podcast. We'll see you next time.